Planned Brotherhood is not an affiliate or associated with Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is a registered trademark of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Incorporated. No rusty hangers were used in this iPodcast.
It must have been, it must have been, it must have been a happy time. It must have been, it must have been, it must have been a happy time. The sun would shine, the candy bars, Kool-Aid flowing like wine, the comic books, the TV shows, the bubble gum, the kitty cat.
I just don't want you to come into this not wanting to do it because people will be able to tell by your voice. Should I stop talking about this now? I probably should.
I'm
just
down.
Make you
I'm ready
angry.
to do it. I'm ready, Freddy.
All right. You're already rhyming. That's a good start.
It's sort of weird that the first night you were here and I had to work all night.
We stayed up until 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And even last night stayed up late when we only got like 3-4 hours of sleep each.
I know. I'm seeing the wind down only today. Yeah, people assumed when and her previous boyfriend, I guess it's safe to say now, were sleeping in Sophia's room that night. That's the night we stayed up until 5.
Yeah.
And they were sure that we were recording that whole time. Good night, Alvina.
Yeah. And apparently she heard us the whole time.
Well, whatever. She knew what she was getting into. And I'm not saying it wasn't podcast worthy. I don't remember a single thing we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, it would.
Oh, yes, I do. Things got a little deep.
Yeah, we talked about things that like we didn't necessarily want to talk about on the podcast. About
I don't know. I'm in debt and I'm an alcoholic. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
But no, we don't usually talk about such things. But I enjoyed it. I felt a little dumb yesterday when I woke up after that, and then had to deal with the occasionally remembering the things that came up.
Tomorrow, in an hour and a half from now, is Dad's birthday. I could text him.
Oh, I totally dare you to.
For the first time in a long time.
Would you even do it as a fuck you to him?
No, I wouldn't text him that just because I wouldn't want to start any sort of communication or anything like that.
I don't think you'd run any risk of that personally, but...
Yeah, maybe not, I guess. But he would at least write back like, thanks.
You think
sure.
so?
Yeah, he'll be at work and shit.
I'm going to make a quick confession then. I told you on my birthday a couple of months ago, I wasn't expecting a text from either parent. Mom did text me, and I said I didn't respond, but I actually sent her a thanks in response.
Oh, really?
But then she's followed up 3 times since then, and I realized that was a bad idea, and I haven't responded since.
To none of the follow-ups?
No, but all the follow-ups were, I miss you, please call me back, and I don't respond well to that.
No.
A little too needy, even via text.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dad didn't text me on my birthday. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Extra fuck you, though. I could text him.
Fuck him.
Or I could text Neckfurters and be like, pass this message on my dad, please. Like, make her the mediator.
Yeah, write her a nice, heartfelt email to Dad.
Totally flowery. Like, you're not even sarcastic when you say heartfelt. I should just totally go for broke like nothing ever happened. So, yeah, we got to get to bed soon. There's no easy way to segue into this. Why don't you just ask me how my dating life is going?
Yeah, you don't like to talk about it much to me. I don't know if it is.
It's not that I
don't. Saving it for the podcast, but
that was my claim, yes.
I didn't even know the first time that you were going on a date. What, Alvina? Okay, well, come and get it. So yeah, your new girlfriend. I walked outside last night.
First of all, let's not go that far.
I walked outside last night, and you were on the phone with her. I didn't know who you were talking to.
I thought you instantly knew when I walked away.
Yeah, that's when I started to pick it up. And then you were literally you were saying things like, I'm going to hang up now. My brother makes me uncomfortable. And then I was like, oh, that's weird. And then you're like, but you should keep texting me tonight. And
you're already making me sound so cornball, and that's not what I feel this is.
All right, so you met her online. You did one of these super awkward online.
Well, I feel like the last 2 episodes that have posted, I've mentioned I have this OkCupid date coming up, which came about the same time the first week of work. So there was a lot going on that was stressing me out.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular girl, yes, I met her through OkCupid. I want to stress that she messaged me first, based on what I assume is my hilarious profile. I haven't updated it in like 2 years. In fact, I never go to it unless I get a message from somebody. But so we talked via text for a few days, I suppose. I don't really know. And then there was an actual phone call that took place that I was really dreading. In fact, I sat out in a park and drank beer and chain smoked. And I felt like the flow was okay. I know that you're just staring at me dumbfounded because it's...
No, I mean, like, that reminds me of the time when I was moving to Yakima for the first time, and I sat there and I psyched myself up for like 2 hours to call first love of my life, Barbara, to tell her I was moving and stuff like that. And I know what you mean, just sit there and get pumped up and shit like that for a phone call.
Yeah, and I wasn't particularly nervous. I was more nervous about the job that I had suffered through the day before. But, I still I blew the last one, episode 90. So I just didn't want to make the same mistakes. But even on that phone call, I was giving up too much information too fast. And I should say I wasn't drunk at that point. I was just drinking to make it go a little smoother. But so we made arrangements to go to, I'll just go ahead and throw out names, the Water Wheel, which you've not been to, but it's only like 5 blocks from my house. And it's fucking great. It's a
bar?
Yeah. And they have different themes every single night, some of which I'm not into. They have a poker night there that I accidentally went to one time. And they looked like poker players, but you would be able to tell better than me. Probably from across the bar where we were sitting, you would have been able to tell.
It's where they're sitting there and actually playing poker.
Yeah. But no, it claims to have the biggest outdoor drinking area in Seattle, and they have a lot of shitty bands that come through there, and they have a karaoke night and whatnot. But I had mentioned kind of approximately where I lived. I wasn't going to give her too much information from the beginning, and she was the one that mentioned the water wheel. So I was like, okay, I could be down with this chick. And so that's where we met the first night, and she was about 4 minutes late, and don't think I wasn't panicking. But
how early were you?
I wasn't early. I was right on time. Actually, I showed up about 7 minutes early and smoked 7 cigarettes in that time, like right around the corner. But I was sitting in the big outdoor area where you have a perfect view of when people walk into the bar. And so I knew that I saw her at a certain point based on her pictures. And I swear, although she may deny this, I can't remember now. But I swear that she turned and looked and saw me because I was outside smoking. And then so I guess I was just expecting her to order a beer and come out. So rather than go inside, I finished my cigarette, which I just started, and there's no back way out. So I'm watching the door to see whether or not she bails based on that quick glimpse I know she got of me. And then I was like, fuck, the cigarette's over. She's still not out here. So of course I dawdle back in and fucking that's the worst part. I know you always ask like, how can you do that?
Yeah.
That's definitely the worst part.
Yeah.
So then we move outside because thank God for me, she's... Well, at least every time I've hung out with her, not to give anything away, she's a chain smoker. And so sitting outside was more appealing to me because I could just, I could get my nervousness out by blowing plumes of smoke in her face and vice versa. And so I know that I was like in nervous mode the first 10 minutes and just trying to be charming, but really I just seemed like a jittery asshole, I'm sure. But she seems pretty cool. And I didn't have any doubt that things were going okay.
What was the theme the night you were there? Awkward date night?
It was, no. I made it that for a short while. But no, we were there on a Friday or a Saturday, so it was karaoke night. But all of that was going on inside.
Yeah.
And don't think if I didn't think it was going well that I wasn't going to end the night by serenading her with Weezer Say It Ain't So, which is really the only song I sing at karaoke. But, yeah, the first... And I'll go ahead and say it. The first flaw I recognize in her is her pulling out pictures of her dog in the first 15 minutes. And I felt confident enough, apparently, to explain to her immediately that that's not cool. Like, I made it clear that I'm not a pet person.
Yeah.
So to get her back, I talked about how adorable Sophia, my niece, your daughter, was every time she brought up the dog. Because I felt like it had to have been just as nauseating.
Yeah, and it's about the same thing.
When you don't know the dog, and I could get to know the dog, she's like, really, if you just, got to get to know her. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I've pet plenty of dogs in my life. I dog sit for a friend quite regularly, and I'm just not feeling it. Sorry.
Yeah, you've never been a dog person.
Queued up the name as much as you want. I'm not a pet person in general.
What's the dog's name?
Francesca. I want to say Buttercup. There's a second name.
Oh, boy.
No, I really don't remember. And I asked her, I'm going to go ahead and say that there was a couple of dates, but I'm not quite done with the first one yet. But she's told me twice now what her dog's name was. She goes by Franny, And let me tell you how adorable this dog is. She forwarded me some pictures.
I saw her Facebook photo, and the dog's on there.
Yeah.
We'll post that on the photo outlook this week.
Without permission, sure. But no, there were, we were drinking and not eating, and she could hold her own, although she is a little fancier. She drinks beer, which I was excited about. But when I'm paying for most of them, you going to switch to PBR at all at any point in the night? Yeah, she's a mayonnaise drinker.
Okay.
Yeah, but she did move on to PBR by the end of the night. And I apparently felt okay enough to just be drinking tall boys of PBR while I continued to smoke. And family came up pretty quickly, which I know is the mistake I made the last time around. But she started it this time, so I felt like it was okay. And she told me I'm not allowed to talk about her job or her work, but she told me she's really good at
rules.
already, right?
Yeah.
So once she tells me all these deep, dark, fucked up things about her family, I'm like, I'm on board with this chick. So I come back and tell her why I don't talk to either of our parents. Keeping it brief, why our sister's retarded. Quick answer to our parents.
Uh-huh.
And she seemed totally down with all of that, but you can never really tell. And then this is where the night starts to get a little hazy for me. Again, no food. I'd say we probably hung out that first night a total of 3 hours, I guess. And by the end of it, she had taken the bus, even though she has
Not going to a movie or dinner or anything,
Nope.
just drinking.
Just drinking and smoking. That's the perfect date in my...
Yeah.
Because going to a movie is the easy way out for an awkward guy like me because there's no talking involved. And then I can either talk about how much I loved or how shitty the movie was. But no, it was just smoking and drinking, which, as I will soon get into, is a running theme with this girl and our dates, which, fine. But yeah, I think, like, she broke the ice as far as previous dating history, which I don't want to know anything about. If she's listening now, which I'm pretty sure she is, I never want to know the numbers because it's just going to make me weirder than I already am. I know you don't date, but don't ever ask for numbers. It's just going to get in your head.
Yeah, I wouldn't think I want to know.
I mean, yeah.
That's why you marry at 12. You marry a virgin.
Virgin? Confirmed?
Yeah. Not medically confirmed or anything like that. But
You might want to consider that. That's all I'm saying. It's probably too late now.
yeah, I think so. Can you tell how long ago she started fucking?
Educated guess, maybe. No, this girl. I'm gonna assume she fucked around, but I think that about most girls.
She looks like a fucker.
All right, P.D., let's calm down.
Like an experienced
I haven't
fucker.
necessarily blown this one yet. I don't need you mucking it up for me. But yeah, she loves her dog, whatever. And then so it gets to be to the point where she has to leave. And even though we've been hanging out for 3 straight hours and drinking, I was pretty sure I'd blown it somehow. But she was going to walk back to her bus. And so even though I lived basically across the street, I offered to walk back with her. And at that point, I can't remember exactly what it was that she said, but I thought I was doing okay because she, if I could even paraphrase in this moment, but she said something about, we were talking about how neither of us are very touchy-feely. Maybe massages came up, something like that. But then she said, in certain cases, I make exceptions, which is not what she said. But then I could see the freak out in her eyes, and she's like, I didn't mean we were going to make out or anything. And I was like, okay. And personally, I was fucking relieved because there's no way I was going to make out with her on a first date. Like, it takes so much prep work for me.
Yeah.
Which leads into date 2. Date 2 happened at Lava Lounge, which I don't know if you've hung out there, but it's like 2 doors down from Shorty's.
Yeah, I know where it is, but I might have been in there once.
It's fine. They have a Miss Pac-Man, tabletop, shuffleboard, etc. We stood outside, or sat outside, so that we could smoke the whole time again, though. And she couldn't come out until 10:30 that particular night, but I didn't have work the next day, and so I was like, cool. And she came out, just missed meeting Sam, which I'm sure would have ended badly for me. Ooh, he's handsome and an artist. I was quoting our cousin Ashley. But yeah, so she just missed him, and we stood outside, and we hung out for a couple of hours, and she kind of had a breakdown somewhere in the middle of it.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
She just said something kind of, I assume, off the cuff. Like, I came back from the bathroom, and you're going to see this as a bold and gross move, I know already. But she said she started
Did
laughing.
you like put your wet hands on her and go, "Don't you hate it when you piss on yourself"? One of those things.
No, that's a date 4 move for Nick. No, but I came back and she was already laughing, and I was like, "What's up?" And I assumed boogers, something, And she had said, "No, I don't want to say it." And then I had to drag it out of her, and she's like, "Well, I was thinking how funny and bold it would be if I, not knowing you that well, had grabbed you by your shirt and kissed you, because I know how uncomfortable it would have made you."
What a weirdo.
Yeah, I know, right? And then she says, "But I wouldn't do that. It wouldn't make sense. I don't want to mess up your shirt. And if you were wearing a tie, though, I would have done it." And so I just laughed, as it was appropriate to do, I felt in the moment. And then for the next half hour, she couldn't get over the fact that she'd said that and was apologizing. And I was like, "Dude, get over it. I'm not going to kiss you anyway. I'm not that guy."
For date 3, you should have worn a tie and been like, wink.
Don't think I didn't think about it.
Yeah, I'm serious.
But as date 2 is coming to a conclusion, we drank till closeout. So we meet at 10:30. Again, we drank for 3 straight hours. And I was in Belltown at this point. I had said I was going back and forth the whole night because I cleaned that salon like 2 blocks down from there once every 2 weeks. And I can do it at any time because I have a key. But rather than getting up the next morning and having to take a bus all the way back down there, I was trying to decide whether or not I was going to go to the salon and clean it that night. That way I could sleep until whatever the fuck I wanted. And so I had told her that earlier, and then I suppose she jokingly suggested, "Hey, we should smoke a bowl and then go clean that salon." And I was like, "Well, I don't have pot, but we could pick up beer and go to the salon." And she seemed down for it, which is weird. Well, she's also curious about my OCD and wanted to see it up close because I'd commented on how I'm weird that way. So I'm like her personal A&E fucked up, A&E?
I know.
Okay. I was just making sure I got the right network. So she came back with me to the salon, and then things got fucking freaky. No, not really at all. But she didn't help me clean. She could have volunteered. She could have fucking taken a rag over the shoulder.
How long is that clean job?
It takes about an hour and a half. Probably this time an hour 45 because I was dealing with my sweat a lot of the time. I sweat a lot when I clean, and I was trying to keep that. Although I'm sure I said, "Oh, I'm such a sweaty asshole," like 8 times over. But we bonded over Wilco. We were jamming out to my iPod. It was a good time, PJ. And the whole time she just was reading Cosmo quizzes out loud, commenting on Wilco, and getting to know each other a little bit better. But I could see that at this point, I probably should make out with her, and the salon would be a pretty cool place to do it, Just because, it's fucking 3 a.m. I got the place to myself. There's a couch if things get good. But I didn't, of course, and so, there were a couple of moments where I knew she was waiting for it, and it didn't happen. And by this point, by the time we leave there, it's close to 4 a.m. And we don't have any plan. I mean, buses aren't running at this time, which is how she got there. And so we're wandering around aimlessly, the next, I'd say, half hour. And in the first 10 minutes of that half hour is when I say, she's like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, I just don't know what we're doing." And she's like, "Me neither." And so I got to say something. I should just make out, but I feel like I got to talk about it instead. And so, because I wanted to at this point. And based on her breakdown earlier and her flippant comment the first date, I knew that she probably was going to turn me away at this point. Why is she hanging out with some weirdo at a salon until 4 a.m. anyway?
Yeah.
But no, instead, I told her, I was like, "Oh, I'm having a breakdown similar to yours earlier tonight." And she says, "Oh, about making out?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then the next 20 minutes, we're walking around debating whether or not we're going to make out and where it's going to happen if we do. To the point, it was just ridiculous. And the whole time I'm thinking, fucking make your move, asshole. And I was like, "Oh, we haven't found the right spot yet. It'd be kind of fun to make out in front of that church. But, dog shit there every day. I see it up close." And then you could tell she's getting a little worn out by the end because day's breaking at this point. And there's this couple hanging out, just sitting on a stoop. And she goes, "I'll bet they're making out." And then this is not the kind of move I like to see in a girl because I'm not this guy. She yells out to them. She's like, "Hey, are you guys making out?" And I was like, "Oh, fuck you. Why would you have said that?" And of course their response is nothing. They're like, "Who the fuck is this chick?"
Yeah.
But then she saves it by following up yelling, "Oh, because we're deciding whether or not we're going to make out." And that's when they responded, "Fucking do it."
Yeah.
So we found a stoop outside of this apartment building. We made out for 10 minutes. every 2 minutes I pull away to apologize for what a bad kisser I probably am because it's been so long. And so then she pulls away after like 10 minutes, and no boob grab up until this point because I wasn't. It's
No
so
boobs.
yeah, that's what I said. No, but I don't know the protocol, and I didn't have internet on my phone. I don't know if the second base is a second date, right?
I don't even know what second base is.
I think it's a boob grab.
Okay.
But I also don't know if second base boob grab over the shirt counts. It doesn't matter because it didn't happen either way. And then we kiss for like 10 minutes, me apologizing the whole time. She tells me she has to catch a cab, which I immediately take as a bad sign, even though it's 5 a.m. And let's think rationally here. She hung out with me for 2 hours while I mopped
Yeah.
and swept up gross hair. So I was like, oh, I'm sure I fucked it up. I don't know how much of that I said out loud. And so while we're waiting for the cab, I think I'm just in apology mode, and we're not kissing anymore. And she gets in the cab, and I was like, well, way to fucking go, Nick. That's it for you. But then she texted me like 5 minutes later, still obviously in the cab, to tell me that the cab driver was a better kisser than me and that she's going to find a salon to bone him in.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, and so I knew I was cool then, but she immediately followed it up before I could even respond with, I'm kidding. Like, in case I'm taking it seriously, like she actually made out with the cab driver. But then we ended up texting a couple more hours into the night, which is ridiculous. And so, yeah, we continued to text. And Curveball, she's going to Argentina. Well, she's in Argentina now or on her way. But she told me, because I told her how bad that first date went, and how about when I asked that girl, or asked that girl at the end, when can we see each other again? She's like, well, I'm going to Africa in like a month, and blah, blah, blah. And that's when this girl, but she told me after I told her that bad date story on our first date, well, you're probably not going to believe me then, but I am going to Argentina in like a week, and I'm going to be gone for a month. But I'd like to hang out with you again in the meantime. So that's when I knew I was cool. So cut to the night before she's leaving town, and she wants to see me again before she leaves town. Took that as a good sign. Where did we go that third night? She's going to hate me for not remembering. Oh, also, this goes back to the first or second. Oh, after the second date, I realize, because I told you, like, the first date, her work or school, which I'm not allowed to talk about, relates to the internet, okay? Already said too much. But she told me that based on my OkCupid profile, she tried to Google me. Did I already say all this?
No.
Oh, okay. She tried to Google me, tried to get whatever information she could to make sure I wasn't a creepo, and she said she couldn't even figure out my last name.
While proving the whole time that she's a creepo.
Yeah. But she couldn't even figure out my last name. And so I didn't tell her my last name because I don't know what the fuck's on my record. And I don't want her to know that because I think things are going okay at this point. But we started talking about, because I guess on my OkCupid profile, I created it right around the time we started the podcast. And it does say I have a podcast. It doesn't say the name of it. It says I do it with my brother. And so I end up telling her the name of the podcast only because I wanted to tell her the stories about why Planned Parenthood was suing us, for instance. And it only makes sense if you give away the title. So she was already listening to the podcast by our second date. And she says the way that she decided to listen to it was reading through the show notes. And she just clicks on the ones that appeal to her. And that includes every time I bash storytelling. Like anything dealing with an ex-girlfriend, I guess she wanted to hear about. And so between our second and our third date and one of her texts, like some joke came up about, because her Facebook profile says that she's married, and I implored further. Still haven't got a straight answer on what that's about, by the way. So we'll see where that goes. But she, I don't know. I said, so what's the deal with your husband? Is he bigger than me, or could I get a punch in? And she's like, well, maybe you should create a fake Facebook profile pretending to be a hot girl and convince him to dump me. And then I said, I make a pretty irresistible hot girl. Isn't this charming, by the way? I can tell by your face. I said, I make a pretty irresistible fake hot girl. And then she wrote back and she said, I'm sure. Does your pussy smell like patchouli? And I didn't know at that point that she'd gone that far back. And I was like, holy fucking shit. Like, if anything's going to blow it with this girl, it's the fact that she heard me rail into an ex-girlfriend like the most petty dickhead in the world.
For having a patchouli-smelling vagina.
And just like throwing around her name at the time. And so when I got that text, I can only think like, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? Oh God, I'm never going to see her again. So I was like, hey, listen, that that was a long time ago. I was new to the format. I was in a dark place. I'm an adult now. And she just basically said she thinks she's heard the worst of it, and she's not scared off by me yet. So we'll see now after she hears this.
Yeah.
Because she's a devoted listener. When we went on our third date, People's Pub, because they have fried pickles, she had listened to the Ashley episode, which had just posted the day before. And I was like, all right, a little creepy. Let's keep this going. But it's also a little creepy that I'm talking about her and posting it on the internet right now.
Yeah.
So I got to try and see it both ways. The third date's the most interesting only because it's the one that makes me seem the freakiest. People's Pub, we ate some fried pickles. I started the night off with whiskey. I don't know why. Oh, because I was really stressed out because I had just come from work, and I still think I'm going to get fired every second of the day. And so I started with whiskey. We hung out for a couple of hours there maybe, and then she had said something about how because she was leaving the next day, she cleaned up her house, and how she was thinking for a split second as she cleaned it, and just in case you came back. And I was like, well, it's already too late for that. I got, whatever. We're in my neck of the woods. But I told her, you should come back to my house. It's only a few blocks away. We can smoke a bowl, pick up some beer on the way, and make out. Although I didn't say that. So we picked up some beer from 7-Eleven, came back to my place, smoked a bowl, and then I always talk about, because you have the freakouts every time you smoke pot.
Uh-huh.
I had one of those freakouts this night. There was just too much going on in my head. So we were hanging out. She was commenting on how awesome my DVDs were, how awesome I was as a person. That last part's a little fabricated.
Awesome, your hair look.
Yeah. And so I don't know, like nothing's happening. We're actually sitting on my bed. It's like 2 a.m. at this point, and I still don't make a move, of course. And then we go outside and we smoke a cigarette on my stoop, whispering because I don't want to wake up my roommate. And meanwhile, she's in the process of packing because she's moving out. And every time we go out to smoke, I bang into 8 cardboard boxes on the way out the door. But I decided after smoking a cigarette, because that's the best time to kiss somebody, like while we were still outside, I went for it that time. And I kissed her, and then we almost fell off the stoop. And then I'm thinking, let's bring the party back to my room. And that's when I feel like I gave off the rapey vibe. Because all of a sudden she was acting really weird. And I realized later I was probably giving the impression like Nick's going to fucking get laid tonight. But that wasn't it at all. I knew I wanted to make out with her, and that's it. Like, I don't move that fast. I especially don't want to bang her and be a bad lay, which I will be at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then have her leave for Argentina for a month. Date a guy because he can grow a mustache.
Yeah.
So we get back to my room and we start making out a little more, and then she pulls away and says that she feels gross because she feels like she tastes like cigarettes. And I was like, I taste like fucking cigarettes too. And
Maybe
then
that's what she was trying to tell you.
yeah. Well, I took that hint and I was like, well, I'm gonna brush my teeth. I have an extra toothbrush if you want to brush your teeth. And so then I go into the bathroom and fucking brush my teeth. Like I'm just stalling and making things weird. She never comes into the bathroom to brush her teeth. And so then we start making out again in my bathroom once she eventually meets me in there. And I'm the only one that's brushed his teeth at this point. She's like, now I feel bad. And I was like, well, I'm fine with it, but if you want to brush your teeth. And she's like, no. And then we sit back down after making out for like 10 more minutes on my bed. And then we're not making out anymore. And then we smoke some more pot. And I start to ask her if she fucking believes in God.
Really?
Yeah. Where does that fucking come
Where
from?
does that come
I
from?
don't know. I was too drunk. I was too everything at that point. And so then she starts telling me, this is where it starts breaking bad in my head. After the God thing, she starts telling me, I guess I chose a really weird time in my life to start seeing somebody. I'm going to be going to Argentina tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to, talk on the phone that often. I'll only have limited access to email. And I realized she's probably just telling me this because we had been talking so regularly prior to this. But no, in my head, I'm taking this as this is a fucking blow off.
Yeah.
And so I start to freak out a little bit, not in a weird Damien-like
On her?
way.
Freak out on her?
No. But I start to shut down a little bit, like, what the fuck did I do wrong? And she's trying to tell me a funny story about her dog or something. And rather than make fun of her, I'm just like, ha. And then she's like, well, I should get going soon. And I'm like, fuck this chick. What the hell have I done? I'm no more awkward than I was the last 2 times. What has fucking happened? And so I volunteer to walk her to her bus, which is quite a few blocks away. And the whole time she's telling me stories, and I'm just like, like fucking weirdo. And so eventually she asked me what's wrong, and I'm like, oh, nothing. Then And then I start to get the feeling like she's telling me about how we should hang out again after Argentina. And I'm thinking, maybe I misread this whole last 20 minutes. Maybe I should try to explain that to her. That just makes things so much worse. Because I'm digging myself deeper, and she's like, at one point, she's like, well, what did you expect for me to spend the night? And I was like, no, not at all. I'm not a fucking creepo.
So what'd you say? You're like, oh, I'm just getting a vibe that you don't like me anymore.
I didn't even go that far, I don't think. I was just like, all I kept saying was, I feel like I've just misread this last half hour. Is that inaccurate? And then she's not giving me a straight answer on anything. And I'm like, fucking shit. But then her bus is approaching, and we start to make out again a little bit. And I was like, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
And then
maybe she's married.
Maybe she is married. But she gets on the bus.
Wouldn't be your first time.
All right, then. We want to go there. Have we ever talked about that on the show? I hope not.
I think we've brought it up, yeah.
Yeah, I banged a married chick. What of it?
Yeah.
That's how awesome I am. So, again, she gets on the bus, and within, 3 minutes, I have a text from her. And she says something to the effect of, congratulations, you're the most awkward relationship in my life right now. And I took that as a bad thing. I was like, holy shit. But then I wrote her back, and all of a sudden I'm in charm mode again because I'm not staring at her. And I was like, sorry, I'm usually a real charmer when I'm all doped up. I blame the pickles. Oh, because we'd had fried pickles earlier in the night. That'll be a cute story later on in life. But then we ended up texting for another 2 hours after that, and we've been cool since.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Congratulations.
Oh, I should also say her being a listener of the podcast, on our third date at People's Pub, she was saying, at first I was just listening to get information, and now I kind of like the show. Or she said she liked the show. She didn't even say kind of. But she did ask at one point, she says, if we continue to see each other after Argentina, I'm not sure I could ever meet your brother, I'm afraid to. And I'm like, what, really? And she says, yeah, I don't know if he does he actually feel that way about women? And I said, what, does he actually hate women? And she says, yeah, I can't really tell if he's joking or not. And I said, I think 80% of him is joking most of the time. But now that I have you here and on mic,
you said that you think that I honestly think that I'm doing a character.
Well, that's what you claim for the most part,
Yeah.
right? You don't think you're actually being genuine.
Well, I mean, a lot of what I say is true.
Is this a character though? This is where I get confused.
Didn't you also say that Sam was wondering that the other day? If I actually truly hate women?
And Sam knows you pretty well at this point. But yeah, out of the blue at the bar the other night, he was like, so does your brother actually hate women? I don't know what episode he'd listened to that day. And I gave him pretty much the same answer. But are you willing to meet this bruiser, assuming that we date again?
I think it'll be awkward, but yeah.
More for her than for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say
Is
it.
she like an Ugmo?
PJ, I don't want to talk about her looks, but only because she's beautiful.
Okay.
I don't want to be a braggart about it.
I don't want to deal with
she's fine.
any awkward bitch. The girl.
You better hope. Listen up, Steven.
The girl you've been with that I like the most is the one that you hated the most, and that was Shoe Stars when you brought her to my house. Like, I thought she was funny.
I didn't hate her. I just realized very quickly that she is legitimately United States of Terror crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe you and people you know should quit bringing brand new potential boyfriends and girlfriends to my house.
Hey, I didn't bring her here.
The crazy's going to come out. Yes, you did.
No, I'm talking about the newest one.
Oh, the new one, yeah.
But she's in Argentina.
Yeah.
We would have been bunking up right next to...
Yeah. Do you think she's going there just to tell them not to cry for her? Do you like how I'm at the point now where I'm shaking my head halfway through every joke I tell?
It must have been, it must have been, it must have been a happy time.